All right, finally, we get to talk about this album that I think is incredible. Welcome to Not Every Single. I'm Joe.
And I'm Stephanie.
I got a lot to say. I got a lot of notes.
You got a lot of notes. I have few notes.
Okay.
And a lot of feelings, I guess.
Okay, cool. I'm excited to get into it. We're talking the new Paramore record, This Is Why, which came out last week. But, you know, we're not, we never have the first video on a new album out because we like to sit with it for a little bit, take it in 3-5 times, take some notes, really think about it, watch some interviews. So that's why we're a little late on the video. But I'm so excited to dive in because this record, taking it in as a whole and hearing the whole thing, it all clicked for me.
Yeah, because we were both kind of both not down on the singles, but just a little like,
It's just kind of head scratching.
Yeah.
A little confused and intrigued, I guess.
Yeah.
It wasn't all negative. It was actually, fairly positive. It was just like, interesting. And I think some of those songs in particular, C'est Comme Ça, did I say it right?
C'est comme ça, yeah.
Oh, nailed it. I didn't take a language in high school. Somehow I got away with that and graduated. I don't know. C'est Comme Ça in particular, just on its own as a single without the context of the album, I was really like, we weren't that crazy about it.
That's a wild song to pick as a single. It's
really
so
is.
short, too.
Yeah, it's short. It has the core. It felt like when it came out, my main complaint was, it has the chorus like way too many times in this short single. It's really annoying.
Yeah, it feels like one of those little like almost interlude type of songs on the album, And
then I hear it in the context of the album, and now I like all these singles a lot more. It makes me think of the first time we caught wind of this album. We made a video months and months ago before This Is Why came out. And it was about a rumor that Paramore was dropping a surprise record, that the whole record was just going to come out.
Right.
And I kind of wish that happened because, man, this thing is strong as a whole.
And like the rollout was so long, and the whole time, I know there were people who were like on board from like day one, but the whole time we were kind of going like, are we going to even like this thing? If I had been listening to this album since like, October, I'd probably have listened to it like 20 times by now, at least.
Let's get into it because the level of musicianship on this thing is through the roof.
Yeah.
And seeing their musical journey, I know they haven't always had the same lineup.
Right.
But in particular, Zach Farrow, the drummer, I did the right Farrow, right? Zach. Yes.
I cannot keep track.
It's a lot of lineup changes. But in particular, him, coming from how he started drumming in this band.
Yeah.
And, it's a genre that doesn't require or it doesn't have a lot of finesse. That whole big pop punk stuff.
Like Riot, the album, I would say finesse was the last thing I would use to describe the instrumentation, especially the guitar.
That whole world, that genre, it doesn't ask for a lot of that jazzy finesse. You're not seeing Travis Barker do cool little ghost notes like this. And so to see him evolve and what he's brought to this album, it's some of my favorite drumming I've heard in a while.
Yeah. Yeah, I know somewhere along the line, I feel like I heard Radiohead as an influence for this album.
Yeah, they said that.
And I honestly, drums is kind of one of the last things that I notice until like you pointed out to me if there's something especially interesting. But I thought the drumming was amazing. And especially like in the guitar work too, and the combination of the drums and guitar work, like I was really getting that influence a lot. I think especially maybe like in Rainbows era.
Yeah. In Rainbows, King of Limbs, like later era.
Right.
Even some Moonshaped Pool.
Yeah.
We got this like quick slapback guitar, interesting lines like that. These off-kilter Johnny Greenwood inspired stuff. These two together, Taylor York and Zach Farrow, have become this like unstoppable force with the instrumentation.
Yeah, we were watching that interview. Who's the guy that
Zane Lowe.
Zane Lowe, yeah. And we really got to hear a lot about that process. And it was really cool because you see that they're kind of like behind the scenes. They're like the instigators of all these songs. And then it's kind of like how No Doubt does it. Like then Haley kind of comes in and she top lines it, or at least on this album, she said in particular, she was really top lining most of the album.
Yeah. And that's, a lot of bands operate that way. And clearly this is really working for them. They, hand an idea off to Haley. She'd take it and run with it. But what they came up with together is really incredible. There's a couple things I want to shout out. Running Out of Time starts with this bouncy bass line that's so cool and like instantly infectious. And then Haley comes in with this verse melody and delivery that's like straight out of Actor by St. Vincent.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, I heard a lot of St. Vincent influence in her vocals on Pedals for Armor back then.
Yeah.
And in fact, I thought, which one was it? There was like a song, it might have been Cinnamon,
yeah.
Where I was like, is this just a St. Vincent song? Like what happened to, and it was the same, it was Taylor doing the guitar work on that.
Yeah.
So I was like, did they both just like listen to like Strange Mercy a lot or something?
Yeah, I hear a lot of Actor in the melody and the delivery. You can even relate the melody to Running Out of Time to Birth in Reverse, a later St. Vincent release from Self-Titled. So I thought that was great. And then right during Running Out of Time, something really clicked with me. We had mentioned on the nose lyrics for The News and This Is Why.
Yeah.
I'm like, these lyrics are so on the nose, especially coming out of, pandemic and everything. And then you get to Running Out of Time, and something clicked where I'm like, okay, on the nose, relatable lyrics may be the point here.
Right, yeah.
It's about feelings coming out of all that we've been through.
Right.
And I would say the masterstroke of this album lyrically is then in the back half, bringing in like falling in love, like positive, something positive happening. I know it's not narrative, but it almost feels that way.
Yeah.
You're like coming into the record with all these negative, anxiety-inducing emotions that you're left with after the last few years.
Right.
And then towards the end, you're like falling in love and realizing that you deserve that and want that for yourself. Like, it's such a well-written record that way. And it's another example of why the singles work so well in context.
Yeah. I'm kind of like, I'm looking at the track listing right now.
Yeah.
And thinking about that for sure.
Okay. So Big Man, Little Dignity is where I started to hear like some Strokes influence as well.
Yeah, they're like popping up again in a lot, but like much more subtle than at the time. A lot of bands just were like, oh, we'll just be the Strokes.
Yeah.
Now it's like, they're one of those bands that are so influential and like they have such a massive fan base, but it's kind of this underground thing to certain music listeners. Like not everybody knows like how massive they are. Still, like the new Abnormal was such an amazing album in 2020.
And that's what I'm hearing here and in some other new music these days is the influence of these more mature, sophisticated Strokes.
Right.
I'm hearing the Strokes influence not as is this it, but new Abnormal type writing and melody. Definitely hear that on Big Man, Little Dignity, which is my second favorite song from the album. I think it's an incredible song, incredible chorus. And I wrote that the first 30 seconds of that is like maybe my favorite moment on the album, instrument wise.
Wow.
I forget what the instrument is. It's actually the first instrument you hear on Demon Days. And I can't quite place it, but it starts, it's like maybe like, what does Squidward play?
I would never watch SpongeBob.
Like jazz clarinet or something. But yeah, it's incredible. All right, I've been talking for a while.
Yeah, well, I think you have more specific I've listened to this album twice, and I've talked about this before on the channel, which is that I need a lot of time with an album to really start. And I feel like this in particular, the thing I got the most out of this album after listening to it the first time, I was kind of like, I was still in the phase. Like, I liked it.
Yeah.
But it was like, there's just nothing else like this. And my brain was sort of trying to figure things out. And so I listened a second time, and my main reaction was, it's going to take me like 10 or 20 passes to start to even like get my mind around what's going on here.
There's a lot to sink your teeth into.
Yeah.
And I'd also cover your ass and say in mainstream. I always like I always add that qualifier whenever I say like there's nothing like this going on right now or something, because then someone will jump in and list like 100 things.
Dude, yeah, like tell me, because I don't know. We're called Not Every Single. We don't know everything.
We don't know every
all the
single
singles of songs.
I would actually love if someone would jump in and say some records that sound like this, because I love it and I want to hear more. I want to hear Paramore of it.
Oh my gosh. I will say, and also like Hayley's vocals on this album are astonishing as always, what she does with her voice. And you know, again, she's not relying like when she was 16. Obviously we all grow and learn. She's not just like using her voice as like a belting mechanism, which I have no problem with. I love that kind of music too. Like I'm doing that a lot in some of our music. But even when she's belting, I wrote in particular, like, the chorus of Figure 8, even when she's really belting, the way it's mixed is like, it's not forefront.
Yeah.
You know, there's like a lot of instrumentation going on, and you can hear all that. And even though she's like really going for it, that's not like what the point of that song is. It's pulled back, and it doesn't even feel cluttered when there's like other crazy stuff going on all at the same time. And she's like singing a note that you're like, how do you even sing that?
Yeah, it's a very well mixed record, very well balanced, and it's not overloaded. Everything sounds like it has room.
Right.
All the parts shine. I love the production here. Okay, I have something to say about Liar.
Okay.
Chorus of the year.
You were super in on all the choruses with this album, right?
She's always been good with choruses. This is like even a step beyond that. Like she's bringing incredible choruses. I know that it's February. Chorus of the year. Okay,
you've said it. The gauntlet has been thrown.
Chorus of the year.
I have to say, I feel sometimes she rests a little on the chorus is just the same line repeated twice or something. Yeah. She does that on this album, but not, I think only maybe one time that I can remember. Maybe there's more. And yeah, she's actually like, I think it has to do a lot to do with the instrumentation too, is like because the drums and the guitar were like so stepped up, that she maybe like stepped up to the plate too of okay, I'm doing some different things here. But I also would say that her solo stuff is like that too. I think her choruses on some of the solo stuff are completely brilliant. Yeah, definitely. And yeah, that jazzy melancholy of Liar, like, oh man, that's one of the best songs I've heard in a while, and in particular that chorus. Now I want to showcase a line in You First. Okay. If you happen to be someone who knows us, you know we love horror movies. Oh yeah, okay. And so the line of the album for me, I'm living in a horror film where I'm both the killer and the final girl. That's a great line. It's a great line. Stuck out to me too. Really good. Really fun line. Yeah. I kind of wish we wrote that. I know. Dang, Hayley, come on. We need like a sequel to Yesterday where we just get that line. The movie Yesterday by Danny Boyle. Don't watch it. Yeah, that was a bad movie. Yeah, so like what I love about the way she brings it around with the lyrics, like I'm personally not one to wallow in like it's the end of the world, you know. Right. And, you know, for certain people it's different,
But yeah, it sort of starts that way and almost becomes not triumphant, but there's a light at the end of the tunnel.
Right.
And that's what I really loved about this album.
Yeah. I mean, the messaging of it, there's a lot of maturity in the simplicity. And I think I have an issue sometimes with generic lyrics. I don't have an issue with simple lyrics. I have an issue with generic lyrics. And there's a distinction. There's
definitely a difference. A simple hook it could be incredible, but the generic, is generic. And I'm glad you brought that up, because my final thought, the last thing I have written down, is one of my biggest pet peeves in lyrics is sometimes I feel like blah, 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 or sometimes it feels like blah, blah, blah. I think it's very redundant to have that in a lyric. You're writing it. Of course, sometimes you feel that way. She never does that.
Right.
There's no sometimes I feel. There's just I am. She's so self-accepting on this record. She's like, I do this.
Yeah.
I'm like this. I feel like this. It's so like standing in what you're feeling.
In that interview, she also did talk about being in therapy consistently for the first time in her life. So I don't know if that could be a big part of that, of just like, that radical self-acceptance of, I don't have anything figured out and this is how I feel. And she said it was like scary, a lot of the things that she was writing for her. And I get that. Yeah. I mean, I try and do that a lot when I write, and sometimes it can feel daunting. I kind of hate to like jump in after your final thought, because it's a really good one.
No, go for it.
But I just also want to say, so Thick Skull, they said it was one of the first ones they wrote for the album. So I don't think you've listened to Flowers for Vases, Descansos, really, have you? That's the one that Triggers from.
No, that's the more acoustic based one, right?
Yeah, it's a lot of acoustic, and Haley did, I think, a lot of the instruments herself too.
Oh, interesting.
So it's a lot more stripped down from Petals for Armor. There are a couple songs kind of especially in the front end of the album that are more full, but this Thick Skull, the final song, that whole first part of that song really, it's lifted from that album to me.
Oh, cool.
And so,
okay.
So it's it makes sense that was the first song that they wrote. And because I think at least Taylor was also very involved with that album. And so it's kind of the bridge from what she was doing as a solo artist to what Paramore is doing now. And then it also, it does feel kind of separate, but fitting from the rest of the album in that way. I wish the other albums were just Paramore albums. I wish her solo albums were Paramore albums.
Some people disagreed with us on that. I mean, it's not really a big deal. No. We can enjoy both projects, but it's cool. That actually makes me think how much more impressive Zach Farrow's work is on it, because he almost was seeing what they were doing on Petals for Armor and kind of brought that in to continue that bridge.
Yeah. And something like Running Out of Time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm incredibly impressed. This is the first record of theirs that I'm so all in on and blown away by. If you like this sort of thing, stick around, because I think pretty soon we're going to deep dive on their 2013 self-titled record, which is now a decade old. So it's time to kind of go revisit that, because it's actually growing on me a lot. Okay. And fun fact, who's drumming on that one?
Oh gosh, I think you told me.
Alon Rubin from Nine Inch Nails and Angels and Airwaves.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you told me that.
Curly-haired guy. Yeah, so that'll be a fun one. We love Rob Cavallo. He produced that one. And stick around for that. But for now, that's it, right?
Yeah, I said what I got to say. Maybe we'll come back to it at the end of the year with more feelings.
I'm sure it'll pop up in some end of the year lists for sure. Especially if the list is best choruses. All right. Thanks so much for watching. This is Not Every Single. I'm Joe.
And I'm Stephanie.
Go ahead and subscribe if you like. Got a lot of fun videos coming out soon, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.